Meanwhile, Edward Snowden, the man that brought all these revelations to light, is the target of debate on Capitol Hill. One of his biggest critics, Representative Mike Rogers, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. He condemned Snowden for stealing the secret documents. But it's not just Snowden he's after. He's also speaking out against journalists that work with him.
So if I'm a newspaper reporter for fill in the blank, and I sell stolen material, is that legal because I'm a newspaper reporter?
Right. If you're a newspaper reporter and you're hawking stolen jewelry, it's still a crime.
And if I'm hawking stolen classified material that I'm not legally in possession of for personal gain and profit, is that not a crime?
I think that's a harder question because it involves a news gathering function, could have First Amendment implications. That's something that probably be better answered by the department.
And after that hearing, Rogers zeroed in on a particular reporter. He told Politico that investigative journalist Glenn Greenwald was a thief for stealing government information. At the time Greenwald published the leaks, he worked for The Guardian. Now he freelances for various news organizations and continues to publish information leaked by his source. He maintains that he never sold the documents and has been tweeting up a storm since the accusations. He tweeted, "Maybe there's something that has become pretty sick about DC political culture if the idea of prosecuting journalists is now this mainstream." For more on the debate of journalists and their sources, I'm joined now by somebody who knows a lot about that, WikiLeaks spokesperson, Kristen Hrafnsson. Welcome, Kristen. So we are hearing from government leaders, particularly James Clapper, the director of national intelligence. He has gone as far as calling journalists that publish Snowden leaks his accomplices. That's the word that he used. It suggests that reporters are taking part in a crime. What do you think about this accusation?
Well, this is absolutely ludicrous, and nothing new, though. This has been going on and escalating for the past 3 years since WikiLeaks came forth with our explosive revelations. It is an attempt to shoot the messenger and, in effect, to criminalize journalism. And it's absolutely outrageous that this should come from James Clapper, who last spring lied to Congress, which is a felony. And nobody's talking about bringing him to justice, which he should. I mean, he committed a perjury, which is can be mean up to 5 years in prison.
And you had mentioned that this is a way to go after journalists, this language that we're hearing from people like Clapper. And journalist Glenn Greenwald shares the same sentiment as you. I want to bring up this tweet related to this. He says, quote, "The main value in bandying about theories of prosecuting journalists is the hope that it will bolster the climate of fear for journalism." Now, Kristen, we saw the same attacks against Julian Assange for publishing leaked documents on his website, WikiLeaks. I covered the Bradley Manning trial extensively there, and this was one of the big issues that came into play. What similarities do you see, Kristen, between the two cases?
Well, as you remember, I mean, there was an attempt to bring WikiLeaks into this case against Manning. In effect, there was an attempt to basically create a case where WikiLeaks could be tried for breaching the Espionage Act of 1917, as ludicrous as it sounds. And let's not forget that the investigation into WikiLeaks and into Julian Assange is still ongoing. It has been going on for now 3.5 years. A secret grand jury is still in operation in Alexandria and Virginia. Of course, this is an intimidation attempt against journalists and against proper journalism. And we have seen this escalating, extremely serious tendencies there. And this is something that all journalists have to take into account and finally stand together and push back against these attempts, because this is extremely serious.
Now, Mike Rogers, the representative we heard from earlier, has really been at the forefront of launching these accusations. And he actually went as far as to say that, actually, you know what, let's listen to this exchange between at this hearing yesterday, a question that was directed to the chairman of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Mike Flynn.
Do you believe that there's any indication that the NSA contractor who's now in Moscow might be under the influence of Russian intelligence services?
Chairman, I don't have any information to that effect.
Excuse me?
So Rogers there really trying to get some evidence that Snowden is in fact working for the Russians. What do you think about this, Kristen, about this claim that Snowden is working for the Russians now, despite, I mean, we heard there, at least we didn't hear any evidence yesterday in this hearing.
Of course, you didn't have hear any evidence because there is no evidence to suggest this. But this is a theme that has been going on for quite some time, until since last summer, that somehow this all has been a big conspiracy. It goes as far as a conspiracy theory that 3.5 years ago, WikiLeaks, Greenwald, and Snowden planned the entire events of last year. And all of this is supposed to be a plot cooked up with the FSB in Russia and Putin's friends. Serious people are putting forth these outrageous theories, conspiracy theories, without any evidence or any proof whatsoever. And I have to say, you know, to listen to Mike Rogers, this is a person who, in an open session in Parliament, claimed that a person's privacy was not violated if the person didn't know that his privacy had been violated. This is the kind of politician we are dealing with here. So it's hard to take this guy seriously, to be honest.
I'm going to ask you, because I know what Rogers, what he would say, and those that hold similar beliefs as him, is that, you know what, if you work with classified information, you have taken this oath to keep it a secret, and if this is violated, it could pose a threat to national security. We heard these same things in the Manning case when it comes to WikiLeaks. I want to ask you your response to this argument, which you hear time and time again.
Well, I've said this repeatedly. We have to go to the basic principles here. And the basic principle is that whistleblowers have to rely on their right and even their duty to set aside lesser laws when higher ideals are at stake. And in the instance of Edward Snowden, in the instance of Manning, we are talking about the U.S. Constitution. We are talking about international laws on war. We're talking about war crimes. So you have a right and almost a duty to set aside lesser law when these higher ideals are at stake. This gives whistleblowers the right to breach whatever contract they are under. They are exposing wrongdoing. But what we talked about earlier was, of course, a different scenario where those who are criticizing the whistleblowers are trying to maintain that the journalists working with whistleblowers have committed a crime. And this is something so serious that I don't think that you have heard anything like this in the United States since the McCarthy era of the 50s. So this is a serious situation we're dealing with here.
And I just want to ask you if you could talk to Rogers, the man that is really launching these accusations and has really been at the forefront of this. What would you say to him?
Well, I would ask him to take some courses in ethics and in reasoning. As I said earlier, a guy who says that some person's privacy hasn't been violated if he doesn't know it has been violated, it's just a person that I don't understand. I mean, you have to rethink your entire ethics and your methods of reasoning. And I'm surprised that you would have a person of this position this standing in such a powerful position as he has in the House.
I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more from him and a lot more debate on this issue. Appreciate you coming on the show and weighing in. That was WikiLeaks spokesperson Kristen Hrafnsson.
Thanks for having me.
Well, when it comes to cybersecurity, it looks like the U.S. may be vulnerable. This out of a report just released by Senator Tom Coburn. The report details the federal government's track record on cybersecurity and critical infrastructure. The mistakes made by key U.S. agencies are alarming. Most of them seem to be careless and sloppy. Here are some of the common cyber failures revealed. Agencies have failed to set adequate passwords by using obvious words you can easily guess, like the actual word password. Failure to change these passwords, update software, and install firewalls. These weaknesses, according to that report, put everything from the electrical grid to the financial markets at risk. Well, this is unsettling for the very offices that are supposed to be in charge of security. We are, after all, talking about the Department of Homeland Security and other agencies like the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the IRS. Coburn hopes this report will shed light on some of these vulnerabilities so agencies can make the appropriate changes.